Okay, we're going to have a look at a couple of different poems here and how we might go about comparing them. They might be familiar, you might have looked at them with your teacher. The first one is Child's Sleep by Carol Ann Duffy, and then the second one that we're going to have a look at is Night Feed, which is slightly longer and it's by Evan Boland. So if we have a look at A Child's Sleep first of all, obviously we're going to want to comment on the title. So Child's Sleep. Actually, if we read through it, the child remains through the whole poem. Here we've got, I spoke her name, pebble dropped in the still night and saw her stir, open both palms, but the baby is asleep the whole time. That's going to be relevant when we look at the second poem. So obviously we're going to comment on the title. Then we're looking for something in the opening couple of lines, and I quite like this idea of I stood at the edge of my child's sleep. Clearly a metaphor. You can't actually stand on the edge of your child's sleep, but it's sort of indicating that I think that the mother can't go there. And she says later, although I could not enter there, I could not leave. So the parent is outside of the sleep, looking in, and I think the can't leave is quite interesting, because obviously you can leave, but there's a sense that you wouldn't want to. So we've got this idea of kind of fascinated by the child. Okay. Then what I would be doing is reading through the whole poem in sentences and kind of reading it out loud in my head, if that makes sense. So obviously you can't read it out loud in an exam, you'd get your paper torn up, but you want to be able to hear the sense of the poem first. So, A Child's Sleep. I stood at the edge of my child's sleep, hearing her breathe. Although I could not enter there, I could not leave. So I'd be thinking about the rhymes there, but I get the sense of the meaning. New sentence. Her sleep was a small wood perfumed with flowers, dark, peaceful, sacred, acred in hours. Okay, so we've got this metaphor of sleep like a small wood that's covered in flowers, is peaceful. Okay, but instead of space, instead of acres, we've got time. So instead of it being a big open wood that can be counted in acres, it's a sleep that can be counted in hours. Next sentence. And she was the spirit that lives in the heart of such woods, without time, without history, wordlessly good. So if the sleep is the wood, she's the spirit in the middle of the wood. So again, we've got the parent at the edge of the sleep, the child right in the middle of it. Without time, without history, wordlessly good. Well, I suppose the child isn't speaking, so it makes sense that she's wordlessly good. Without time and without history, so it's almost like the child asleep is suspended in time. It's not part of the normal day. It's almost like kind of suspended animation. It's like separate to the rest of the world. Next sentence. I spoke her name, pebble dropped in the still night, and saw her stir, open both palms, cupping their soft light. Right, so first question would be, whose soft light? Well, maybe it's the palms' soft light. Now, why would the palms be light? Oh, the skin can be a little bit lighter on your palms, so maybe that's what she means. And I've got the image of like the child, the baby, cupping both of its hands as if it's holding a light, but still not waking up. So stirring because her name's been spoken, or the child's name's been spoken, but not waking up. Then final sentence, then went to the window. So this must be the I, this must be the narrator. The greater dark outside the room gazed back, maternal, wise, with its face of moon. So obviously Carolyn Duffy is writing as if she's the mother, and if the outside dark is maternal, then it's a mother as well. So it's as if there's some sort of connection between the greater dark outside the room, the night, and the mother. So I think that makes it feel quite comforting almost, because both the mother and the night time are maternal. And with its face of moon, it's lovely. It's as if the night sky is looking at the mother, looking at the baby through the window, I think. So things to talk about. I stood at the edge of my child's sleep, this metaphor. That metaphor is continued. So her sleep was a small wood. We've got the idea of sort of natural, something beautiful, and then we've got this sensory language of perfumed and dark. So as if the whole place is peaceful and beautiful. Then again we get a continued metaphor. She was the spirit that lives in the heart of the woods. So she's the kind of being in the middle of the sleep. Then I want to talk about this soft light. Open both palms, cupping their soft light. I found that quite an interesting phrase, and I can talk about the image it creates with the palms open. Okay, so then finally we've got this maternal, wise night sky with its face of moon, and I think we've got that sort of connection between the mother and the nighttime. Okay, so I've got a few things that I can talk about. Just going to add in a few that I want to, a few features I'm going to mention. So perfumed with flowers, so going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about without time, so as if the baby exists in its own time frame. Okay, right, so next what I'm going to do is have a look at the second poem and be looking for some connections with the poem that I think I now know relatively well. So, night feed, already we've got a difference. We'd expect, well, the child would have to be awake if it's being fed, otherwise that could end badly. This is dawn. Okay, we've got a slightly different time frame. In the previous one we had the greater dark, so no sense of like dawn coming yet. This sounds like the middle of the night to me, and that makes sense because the child is still asleep. Believe me, this is your season, little daughter. So we've got the poet talking to the daughter. Let's just check back. No, there's no talking to the daughter. So this one is third person talking about the daughter. And this one got direct address, talking to the daughter. But we have got kind of natural beauty. At the moment Daisy's open. And the mercurial rainwater makes a mirror for sparrows. So I know that if you know what mercury looks like, it's very shiny and it kind of creates, it's got huge surface tension, mercury, so it kind of, it creates itself into round shapes. So I'm kind of imagining a sparkling round shape in the bird feeder. So it's very much a sort of beautiful image, natural image. It's time we drowned our sorrows.